Hey gang, welcome back again to Ken Tamplin Vocal Academy, where the proof is in the singing. I'm continuing my series on taking these absolutely incredible isolated vocal tracks. I'm doing a vocal analysis, a singing tutorial, talking about the recording process, a little backstory of the band, etc. Next up, Eye of the Tiger. Not quite the eye, but the tiger, but this will have to do today. Anyway, the band is Survivor. The singer is David Beckler. Now, David was replaced by Jamie Jamison. We'll talk a little bit about that more as we go. I want to remind you guys that I have a singing course. The course is called How to Sing Better Than Anyone Else. You can find it right here at KenTamplinVocalAcademy.com, where I also have a free singing forum of over 20,000 people over there, all talking about how to get great at singing, where I walk you through step by step of how these guys got great, how they're doing what they do in order to help make you do what you want to do. Okay, I'm going to dive right into David Beckler, and let's just get started. Here we go.
Rising up, back on the street, did my time, took my chances, went the distance, now I'm back on my feet, just a man and his will to survive.
Okay, now a few things. A couple of videos ago, I talked about how when we remember a song, sometimes we remember it bigger than it was. Sometimes it wasn't as big. We were surprised it's bigger than we thought. Sometimes we're surprised at how it stood up to the test of time of modern recording and better fidelity and so forth. And then sometimes there's just other things in between, things we just never noticed about a song and so forth. So in this particular case, in my mind's eye, I remember this song being a lot bigger than it was, especially the vocal. And I as much as I know the song, in fact, I did a version of this with my student Sarah Loera. We'll put that in the description so you could check it out. Sarah did a great job. But I didn't remember it being quite as choppy and stabby. Rising up, back on the streets, did my time, did my better, went the distance, now I'm back on my feet. Right, now I get it needed to be kind of boppy because my understanding was Sylvester Stallone actually called David, or a member of the band, I think it was David, and said, hey, this is Sylvester, I'm looking for a song for my new movie. And I think he had something else in mind that he couldn't get cleared, so he actually asked Survivor David Beckler to write the song and come up with this theme, which is awesome. Eye of the Tiger. I think he even might have mentioned, I needed to be like, Eye of the Tiger, kind of thing. And so they wrote a song about it, which is really cool. I also understand that it needs to be really triumphant and, a comeback kind of song and all that stuff. So that plays into the boppy, sort of stabby kind of thing. But I remember it just being a little bit more manning up, rising up out to the street. I guess I kind of wanted it a little bigger. Now, personal preference, I'm a little bigger fan of Jamie Jamison with a big, beautiful, warm, velvety tone and the incredible range that he had and his ability to sing ballads and stuff. So hopefully I'll get a chance to get to some of that stuff too. But I want to backtrack on one more thing. I never noticed how much reverb was on this vocal track until I played it alone. There's a lot. But I did notice too, which I'll show you right now, that when you put the track in, you don't notice it as much. Check it out.
Rising up, back on the street, did my time, took my chances.
Here's with the track in right here.
Rising up, back on the street, did my time, took my chances.
Now, I will say in defense of that, it's interesting, the band is pretty tight and there's not a big, huge production thing as far as a lot of reverbs and stuff going on. So the vocal is kind of featured as like the thing to have the vocals on to be really accentuated in that way. So I get all that. That's cool. All right, let's continue. Here we go.
Went the distance, now I'm back on my feet, just a man and his will to survive.
Cool. Now, I like his pitch. His intonation is spot on. But I did notice like little artifacts in here, like at the end of Will to Survive, he kind of flutters in his vibrato a little bit. I'm surprised he didn't redo that. So check this out.
And his will to survive.
Survive! Right? He's kind of fluttery. Now, he uses a little bit of a raised laryngeal position, rising up, back on the street. Hey, hey, hey. So he's got kind of a little bit of a raised vibrato. Did my time, took my chances, went the distance, now I'm back on the street. Right, bad lyrics, sorry. But anyway, you can hear the raised laryngeal position, and it's a pretty small tone. Now, we've talked a lot about, contralto singers and whatnot, and I did a whole series on this. I did Actually, a couple of them, but one that you may want to check out is the outfield, where this kind of voice type is very kind of one-dimensional in the way it's very tubular and small and has, doesn't use a lot of dynamic range in the volumes, and also a lot of dynamic range, even though it's a high vocal, in the actual range of the vocal itself. It's not sung in 2 octaves or 3 octaves. It's all kind of belting right at the same register. So I thought I'd point that out along the way. Let's continue. Here we go.
So many times it happens too fast. You trade your passion for glory. Don't lose your grip on the dreams of the past. You must fight just to keep them alive.
Now, I'm not trying to be mean or pick this apart, because David's a great singer. Come on, guys. Eye of the Tiger. It's like, one of the most epic, anthemic, rah-rah songs for triumphs and comebacks of all time. So I'm not trying to diss it, but I do have to point some things out along the way. It kind of almost sounds like he's reading the lyric, and I don't take ownership of it in the verses as much as I do by the time I get to the chorus. Let me show you what I mean. If you listen closely, he's kind of rushing the lyrics, almost like he's reading them, and maybe could have found a better way to phrase it. Check it out.
Don't lose your grip on the dreams of the past. You must fight.
Almost like he loses the breath on past. Don't lose your grip on the dreams of the past. You must fight. Instead of, don't lose your grip on the dreams of the past. You must fight just to keep them alive. So it sounds kind of like rushed and just, it's not as thought out as I personally would like. And it's just my personal preference. But anyway, I thought I would point that out because it's worth noting along the way. And again, we're talking legendary. We're talking epic. I'm only Ken Tamplin. I'm just making some comment, right? Here we go.
Don't lose your grip on the dreams of the past. You must fight just to keep them alive.
See, you must fight just to keep them alive, right? It just sounds on the dotted line for me. I don't know.
It's the eye of the tiger. It's the thrill of the fight. Rising up to the challenge of our rival.
Now, in this part, he does do that. There's some swing to it, and I get it. So, it's the eye of the tiger, it's the dream of the fight, rising up to the challenge of our rival. Right? So there's some swing to it. And it's like okay, that seems like that you sung that a bunch of times, is maybe not as much as the verse.
And the last known survivor stalks his prey in the night, and he's watching us all with the eye.
Hey, there's a C, right? I don't have my guitar, but I love that note. That's great.
The tiger.
See, a little bit of loss of control.
Of the tiger.
Like he couldn't quite control his vibrato there. Here we go.
Face to face, out in the heat, hanging tough, staying hungry.
Now, interesting side note. I said I like Jamie Jameson. This part sounds a lot like Jamie Jameson's voice. Take a listen real close. It's a little more staccato, it's a little more tight in the vocal, but there's some tonal qualities and things, and I could see how they picked Jamie to step in and fit David's place because there's some similarities. Check it out.
Face to face, out in the heat, hanging tough, staying hungry.
See there? Hungry! How Jamie has that air, right, normally, compared to David?
They stack the odds, still we take to the street for the kill with the skill to survive.
By the way, impeccable tone. The only thing I even heard was on the word "to" was it was a little, pitchy. And in today's day and age, someone would have just auto-tuned that, unfortunately. So I love the fact that it wasn't auto-tuned. But you can listen to the word "to."
Kill with the skill to survive.
"To's" a little flat.
It's the eye of the tiger, it's the thrill of the fight.
I'm being really picky. Sorry, guys. I'm just pointing out stuff just along the way as I hear it. Don't get mad.
Rising up to the challenge of our rival, and the last known survivor stalks his prey in the night, and he's watching us all with the eye of the tiger.
Cool. Now, I can hear Jamie singing that too. Like this part here in the second half right here. Check this out. Right here.
And the last known survivor stalks his prey in the night, and he's what?
Pray in the night. Could you hear Jamie doing that? Right? So it's very similar. Some interesting little things to pick up along the way.
Watching us all with the eye
Love that.
of the tiger.
Okay, so let's continue on.
Rising up, straight to the top. with glory. Went the distance, now I'm not gonna stop. Just a man and his will to survive.
Again, back to the chorus. So, and you know, there's nothing really spectacular about it other than it suits the song. It suits Rocky. It suits the theme. The lyrics great. Eye of the Tiger is a great concept. Like all of that is really cool.
It's the eye of the tiger. It's the thrill of the fight. Rising.
See a thrill of the
thrill of the fight.
Thrill of the fight. Is that of the fight? Check it out.
Of the tiger, it's the thrill of the fight.
It's the thrill of. That whole thing is a little pitchy.
Of the tiger, it's the thrill of the fight. Rising up to the challenge of our rival. And the last known survivor stalks his prey in the night. And he's watching us all with the eye of the tiger.
By the way, he's a little flat on Tiger there too, but he crushes it. And I know I'm pointing out a lot of stuff like, can't you lighten up? What do you want? Absolute perfection? Well, we kind of strive for that as we're going for stuff. If we can get it, great. If we can't, I'd much rather have feel and emotion and passion and all of that and soul and vibe than absolute perfection. We see a lot of that in different songs. I'm surprised at some of the stuff that wasn't re-recorded, but was done in the name of keeping it because the vibe was cool with the track and the song. Now, I want to point something else out too. We've talked a lot about, for you guys that want to learn to sing, I want you to notice how he under-enunciates almost every single word. I'll do it with him, so.
Went the distance, now I'm
Went the
not
distance.
gonna stop. Just a
Man and his will to survive.
It's the
Eye of the tiger, it's a thrill of the fight.
rising up to the challenge of our rival.
Rising up to the challenge of our rival. There's almost no enunciation going on there. There's almost no enunciation. There's almost no enunciation in there, right? Now, I was kind of surprised that they didn't do like a harmony on the end. It's the eye of the tiger, it's a dead in a fight. I'm surprised they didn't do that, but maybe they didn't because they wanted that solo vocal right out in front and not a distraction away from the melody. But
It's the eye of
so like,
It's the eye of the tiger, it's the thrill of the fight, rising up to the challenge of our rival. And the last known survivor was his prey.
right? Could you kind of hear that maybe in there?
He's watching us all with the eye of the tiger.
But they chose not to do that. That's fine, you know, right? Now I want to show you again how much as much as all this reverb plays into this, when you've got the track in, especially in the chorus when the heavy guitars come in. So I'm going to take this all the way up to the chorus. I'm going to put the track in so you can hear it, and then you can see how the reverbs disappear. And so as you're adding your reverbs and whatnot to your main mix, don't just isolate it, solo it, and say, okay, man, that's too much or it's not enough. Make sure that it sits in the track. The length of the reverb, the color of the reverb, is it competing with the track? Is it just subtle enough to where it's really setting up the track? I love the fact they didn't use a lot of stuff on this. It's just a simple verb, but here we go.
Rising up, back on the street. Did my time, took my chances. Went the distance, now I'm back on my feet. Just a man and his will to survive.
Okay, now that's good. That's the next verse, but let's go up to the chorus here. I think it's here.
Don't lose your grip on the dreams of the past. You must fight just to keep them alive. It's the eye of the tiger, it's the thrill of the fight, rising up to the challenge of our rival. And the last known survivor stalks his prey in the night, and he's watching us all with the eye of the tiger.
Cool. Anyway, gang, hopefully you enjoyed this. I definitely love Survivor, and I'm going to hopefully get the chance to do The Search Is Over and some of the other beautiful epic songs that they also did. And I'm going to sing those songs too. Either I'm going to do it myself or I'll do it with one of my students because it's worthy. And this is, again, one of those bands that never got to make it to that super icon status except for this tune. But if you go back, you guys that don't know the band Survivor, I really encourage you to go in and check out some of the really great stuff that, that Jamie Jamison did with this band also. Okay? Thank you for for joining me, and until next time, peace out.